Okay. From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. This week, NASCAR announced that it will no longer allow the Confederate flag, and the nation goes into mourning as the 38th best driver in the 3rd best NASCAR racing circuit in the 9th most popular sport decides to quit in protest.
Oh,
how will America ever survive?
Wow.
But we are here to help you through your grief. And now, broadcasting from the Churn, that guy's Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangman. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
It is amazing. Like, that's the thing that's been driving me crazy. Is I'm watching the news and stuff, they're like, yeah, you know, Congress or Pelosi or somebody wants to tear down Confederate monuments in D.C. And I'm like, there are Confederate monuments in the nation's capital? Like,
oh, yeah.
Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It was treason. They
Did
lost.
Did you hear about the Confederate flag thing, the NASCAR thing?
The NASCAR thing?
Yeah.
That they're not going to allow the Confederate flag?
Yeah, so they're not going to allow it anymore.
Why the fuck is anybody doing that?
No, but here's the thing. So
it's amazing that is more offensive than kneeling during the national
so this
anthem.
guy,
like,
this guy, Race Sorelli, I think his name is.
I think you switched those.
Yeah, I meant the other thing. I'm not
Yeah,
racist.
yeah.
Go the other way. Why are people
he,
not upset about the Confederate flag, but they are upset?
There you go.
Thank you for
About
fixing
the
that.
kneeling.
No hate mail.
That would have been a shit show for the next 2 weeks.
Oh,
Thank
no.
you, Jacob.
No, the
Jacob
standards
saved
are
us
just
on that.
falling. Nobody cares anymore.
So yeah, he quit in protest. He's going to give up his racing career.
Did you just say that NASCAR is the 9th most popular sport in the country?
It is. Yeah.
Boy, try to name the other 8.
That is much lower than I would have guessed.
I can't come up with 8
It's
other
so
sports.
I would have guessed 4.
Football?
Sure.
That's number 1.
Baseball?
Yeah.
No, baseball is not
Yes.
number 2.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
No, basketball's good.
Okay, I'm never
it's
going to
mu-
get through the list.
As much as you yell, baseball is number 2.
Yes,
I
it is.
refuse.
Baseball is certainly number 2.
I reject your reality.
Basketball, hockey.
Is 4? Hockey's 4? That feels right.
Hockey's
I would have
4.
guessed NASCAR above hockey.
Nope. And then I think tennis.
Oh,
even
come
is
on.
above
Well, if they're
NASCAR.
9th, then tennis must be
Golf's
above
got to
them.
be in there. Ping pong,
Yeah, golf has to
I
be
don't
up there.
think golf is. actually.
hopscotch, professional hopscotch. Dude, it cannot be 9 because then it's on ESPN 8. The Ocho.
It is 9.
Dodgeball's
9.
ahead of this.
Believe me, when I write a joke, I
You do
research
the
it.
research. I believe you.
It takes me
actually.
3 days to write one joke,
Yeah,
so I
because
know,
Yeah,
know what I'm
I notice
doing.
your footnotes. There's a lot of footnotes in your jokes.
Let's see. 10. Oh, this is world. I said that doesn't count.
World
'Cause that
sports.
has in the world, obviously soccer is number 1.
Soccer is
Soccer.
above
Soccer. If they're
NASCAR?
number 9, then soccer
Yeah.
must be above it in the U.S. as well.
Wow.
World sports, soccer is number 1, most popular.
Oh, that's fair.
Guess 2 and 3.
World?
World.
Tea
I think tennis.
and coffee.
I
Tea
think
and coffee.
tennis.
You're saying tennis.
Tennis feels right.
Jim, do you have a guess?
Okay,
give
so
me
soccer
one
is
of the
number
other
1.
2. Yeah, soccer is
Rugby,
number 1.
rugby.
Oh, that's a good
I'm
one
going
too.
rugby.
Soccer is number 1 by a full-on billion fans.
Jeez.
Wow.
Soccer has 3.5 billion fans. Number 2 has 2.5 billion,
It's
and number
rugby.
3 has 2 billion.
It's rugby and then cricket.
No, I don't.
You got cricket?
Yeah!
Oh, really?
Cricket is number 2.
Wow.
And field hockey is number 3.
Oh, get the
Oh,
fuck
I
out
wouldn't
of
have
here.
guessed
That's
that.
not a thing.
Tennis number 4.
I'm not
Tennis, I
even
knew
convinced
tennis
field
would be
hockey
okay.
is a thing. I don't even
Yeah,
know that
yeah.
I am aware. Do we call that something else? Is
No,
it not
it's
field
field
hockey?
We call it field hockey.
What is the thing where you throw a ball with your net stick?
That's
Big in the
lacrosse.
East. Lacrosse. Is that field hockey?
No.
Field hockey's different than
Field
that?
hockey's got a little stick and it's got the curve down at the bottom.
So, oh.
It's very popular. Women's field hockey in college is very
Yeah.
popular.
All right, so football,
Interesting.
baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer is 5, tennis
wow.
is 6, golf is 7,
Wow.
pro wrestling
Yep.
is 8,
Yes.
Wow.
motorsports is number 9.
Yep,
NASCAR
that's
got
the list
beat
I
by
got.
the WWE.
Yeah.
Also, badminton number 10.
Also, why is pro wrestling listed as a sport?
I don't know.
Because you know that they don't mean Olympic Greco-Roman wrestling.
Oh no, it is wrestling /WWE.
That
is
is
what's on
not
the
a
list.
sport. It's obviously just a dramatic entertainment.
That's fine. We argue about that on ICS too.
That's not our show, Jim.
Sorry. I fold into their space. Get in your lane, Jim.
Stay in your lane.
Stick to your psychology bullshit. You talk about the WWE.
But even then, that just means NASCAR is number 8.
That's
Yeah.
so fascinating.
If you take that off the list, I mean, NASCAR becomes 8.
Here's the kicker, though, too.
Yeah.
He's not in the main circuit.
He's not
So,
even
no,
in the main
so
event.
there's like,
yeah, the guy who's quitting in protest is
he's in
way
the truck
down.
series.
Yeah, I think he's losing more
So-
than
And I don't think he's in the main truck series.
Oh, really?
I don't think
I
so.
think he is.
But here's
I thought
the
he
thing.
is, but
If-
he's
if
still
I'm that guy's-
38th in that.
If I'm that guy's agent, I'm like, good job, buddy, because you just became relevant.
Oh,
Yes.
no.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
exactly what you should have
But
done.
Twitter was hilarious. Twitter roasted him because
Oh, yeah.
he posted this on Twitter, and then like the comments were like, "Hold on, I need to Google you. I'll be back in a second."
You are not relevant.
Well, and one of the Twitter responses was somebody cloned a NASCAR account. Somebody
Nice.
made a fake NASCAR account.
Oh, wow.
And responded with, "I'm sorry, we had to Google who you were."
It
It was as though NASCAR was saying it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So the Confederate flag finally
Also,
going away.
and this has been my pet peeve, and I actually posted something on my social media the other day about it, which I never post anything on social media.
Yeah.
Not the Confederate flag.
Oh.
That the flag that everyone thinks of as the Confederate flag was never the flag of the Confederacy.
Really?
The bars and stars?
It's called the Stars and Bars.
Oh, stars
The
and bars.
Confederate
Get it
flag
right.
was called the Stars and Bars. That is not the Confederate flag that was called
Really?
the Stars and
What?
Bars. The Confederate flag that's called the Stars and Bars, it's the same basic configuration as the American flag with the square up in the top left corner. Then it has 3 big fat stripes, red and white, top red
That's
stripe.
the Texas flag.
No, it's not.
Texas.
So
is the
instead of
Confederacy.
the 50 stars where the stars are in the U.S. flag,
Yeah.
it was a circle of stars.
That's the colonial flag.
Shut up, Jim.
This is not a thing.
It's still not true. Everything you're saying is still wrong. Just in general.
You gotta be kidding me. The Confederate flag that I think of as the Confederate flag is now the Confederate. It's not the X.
No, that flag was the flag of a square version of that flag was the flag of the Army of Northern Virginia.
What?
The flag that's the top left one
me
is
see it.
the
Let me see
Confederate
it.
flag. That's the Stars and
Really?
Bars.
That's the Confederate
it.
flag.
And the X flag that people think of as the Confederate flag is actually the battle flag of the Confederate Navy.
Oh my
Oh.
gosh,
Interesting.
dude!
Not and the Confederate Navy, by the way, is exactly as big as you think it is, which meant it was like 2 guys in a rowboat.
Now that's not true because there was the Merrimack versus
There was a Navy, but they
had a
had
Navy.
hardly they had very few
But the
ships.
fact that flag became
Interesting.
the official flag of a failed nation state that is impressive.
It didn't become that until the 1900s when the
Wow.
Klan adopted it. I mean, the history of that flag has everything to do with the Klan.
Oh my god!
It was adopted by the Klan, just like those Confederate statues you're talking about. Most of them, the vast majority of them, were put up in the Jim Crow era in the
my
1900s
gosh.
to tell people of color, don't come to these areas.
Oh my
Wow.
god! I approve of NASCAR's decision. I'm going out. I'm saying it.
Wait, okay, so up until now, you weren't sure?
He was on the fence.
I mean,
I need to get a little bit more information before I agree.
Just drive the car.
Until this history lesson, Jim was straddling the Mason-Dixon line fence.
if you're sponsored by the Confederacy, then you got to. You gotta have the ad. What do you Tide? You're not gonna run a Tide ad. You gotta. If you're sponsored by the Confederacy, you gotta put up the flag.
Yeah,
But
'cause
now, I'm. You know what? No more Confederacy money in pod therapy. I think that we need to take a stand. Give it all back.
that money is not
Not
worth
all of
anything
it.
anyway.
Let's not give all of it back.
That's not true. That money is actually worth a lot.
Confederate
probably.
dollars. Confederate dollars.
If you get like real Confederate dollars, it's not worth a lot, but it's worth something.
That is insane. I cannot. That is really educational. Damn.
Yeah.
I just learned a lot.
Also,
This is very interesting.
how long was the Confederacy around, Jim?
Oh, geez.
How many years did the Confederacy exist? For people who these are
good
my 2
question.
arguments for people who argue heritage, not hate,
Okay.
for the fucking flag.
Okay.
First of all, it has nothing to do with your heritage unless your great great grandfather was in the fucking Confederate Navy.
Yeah.
Right.
In which case, I have further questions for you. And now I'm just fascinated that you have such a strong tie to the Confederate Navy that you want to fly this flag because, like, literally a few
My
hundred
dad
people
was on the Merrimack.
Literally a few hundred people were tied to the Confederate Navy in the 1800s.
Your guess. I'm going to
How
guess
long
two.
the Confederacy existed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how long the war was. It must have been all of Lincoln's presidency and maybe a little bit more. So I'll go with 8 years. I mean, well,
Okay.
he got killed, didn't he? So
He did.
6 years.
Well, I mean, the Confederacy was around before the Civil War started, too.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
I'm going to go 4.
Yeah, it's 5 years.
Jesus. The thing lasted for 5 years.
Yeah. The
God,
not the Civil War,
a
the
loon.
Confederacy
The Confederacy itself.
lasted for 5 years.
Wow.
And so
That is
the heritage
remarkable.
not hate argument, first of all, that flag had nothing to do with the nation of the Confederate States of America. That nation's in
Wow.
quotes. With the Confederate States of America, that flag had nothing to do with it, or it had something to do
It's
with it,
the
but it was
Navy
not the
flag.
national flag.
Right.
Wow. That is
And
remarkable.
the whole thing was 5 years long.
That is
Wow.
amazing. Holy cow.
So for all the heritage not hate people who want to fly the flag and yell, "This is not a hate symbol," it is.
you know what?
Sorry.
I'm ready to come out and have an opinion.
See, and
I'm pro-union.
Good job.
I'm
Good
coming
job.
out. Pro-union.
And this is the problem with symbols and
Yeah.
symbology in general.
Yeah.
People try to take them and then repurpose them or claim them as something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my answer to that is very simply, you can say this is not a hate symbol all you want. That doesn't change the fact that it's a hate symbol.
It was
Right.
yeah. If the KKK
Yeah.
adopts anything, don't
Exactly.
do that thing.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's not your thing anymore.
If you
Yeah.
wave a
Don't do
white
that.
flag with a red blood drop on it, that is a symbol of hate.
Wow.
And just because you say it's a symbol of that I'm a blood donor doesn't change the fact that it's a hate symbol.
I get
Right.
tear tattoos on my face.
That's fine.
but that's because of my heritage. We were clown people, and I want to have makeup on
You
my face.
are a clown person.
It's not because of the murders.
By the way, everybody, our mics didn't stop working. We just have nothing to say to that.
No. You guys were nodding in approval. That's what they can't see.
Vigorously.
Vigorously nodding. So,
So,
the A block
I pulled my neck.
is not about the Confederacy. It's about divorce. Da-da-da!
Yay.
We're going to play a game.
What a great transition.
Yeah, once upon a time, I had said that there are statistical factors that actually could lead to divorce. So I rounded up all the data, and I have the top 7 factors.
All the data.
All the data was rounded, and I have the top 7 factors. And we're going to play a little game where you guys can try to guess and see if you get it.
Me versus Jacob.
Yep.
All
I
right.
feel like I've got an advantage here, having been divorced twice. So this is
And you're a therapist.
this is right in my
Number
wheelhouse.
you
one.
have a bigger advantage
Hold
than
on,
the
hold
divorce
on,
part, I think.
hold on. I assure you that won't factor in at all.
Yeah.
I
First
feel like
factor.
that's still whether
Is your
you-
name Nick?
Whether you think it is or not, I feel like that's a bigger factor.
Nick's just going to guess all these personal things. Like,
Yeah.
is it playing golf? Is that one of the things?
It's smoking cigars while playing golf,
Is
isn't it?
smoking cigars while playing golf? Is that one of the things? Is it from being Iowa? Is that one of the things? So, quick 2 disclaimers.
Ability to drive a tractor.
Is it ability to drive a tractor? I feel like that factored in. So 2 disclaimers before we dive in. Because I thought about this. Number 1, I think it's important to point out that divorce is not inherently a bad thing. I think a lot of times as a therapist,
sure.
I find myself saying divorce is fine, it's okay, and so I want to be
My
careful.
parents
not
were
to-
much happier after they got divorced.
Yes, and
Yeah.
that's it,
And I was
it's
too.
healthy in many
Yeah.
times. In
I
many
mean,
times, it's healthy.
I was 9 or 10 when my parents got divorced, and
and it was a good thing.
both households were better after my parents got a divorce.
Yes.
That's
So
good.
I just want to say that up front because I think that when we're 7 factors, I don't want it to be like, 7 factors that lead to cancer. Like it's not in any way in the
Yeah.
same ballpark. Divorce is a thing. It's a phenomenon. People are interested in it, and there's interesting predictors that can kind of lead to that. So big picture there. And then the second disclaimer is just pointing out that if you have any of these risk factors, just know as a therapist, in no way do I care that these are factors in a person's life. I'm interested in your choices. I'm interested in your perspectives in the now. So this is interesting statistically, but please don't misunderstand the statistic for like this is destiny or something like that. So,
This is not if you meet all 7 of these statistics, that doesn't mean that you're getting a divorce.
no, it doesn't mean dick. It just means nationally over lots of longitudinal studies, we can pick up trends. That's it. Okay.
I mean, I'll tell you this right now. I am positive that SJ and I hit multiple things that other people would say, like, oh, if you do this,
These are
you're in
warning
danger of getting a
sign,
divorce.
right.
And we're not.
you're fine.
But like I am positive that we meet multiple things.
Well, let's find out, ladies and gentlemen. So I've got the top 7 risk factors for divorce according to science.
I know my first guess.
Brought to you by the Confederacy.
Give me nothing to do with divorce, but pick a different category and give me kind of the type of risk factor this would be. I want to know how specific these are.
Oh, okay. Like an analogy?
Yeah.
So if you said, like, hey, what are the risk factors for bankruptcy?
Uh-huh.
And if I gave an example that would be similar to this, it would be like, oh, one risk factor is borrowing, getting your first credit card, like at a young age and not being trained and, not having
pretty
any financial
broad.
knowledge. It can be very broad. It's not going to be like Blue Eyes.
Okay.
It's not demographic stuff. It has to do with like the depiction of the marriage or demographic things from your history.
Okay.
More about experiences than it has nothing to do with like, blue eyes, brown hair.
Okay, my first guess then.
Number one.
Can I go first?
You may.
Would we like to flip
You
for
may.
it?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My guess is going to be money problems.
Ooh. Number 2, financial strain, low income. Financial troubles can cause a rift in a marriage. Constant stress and worry can lead to estrangement between the two people. In fact, researchers have discovered that couples with an annual income of less than $50,000 a year have a higher risk of divorce due to financial strain. He's got one in the bag.
Okay.
All right.
Risk factors for divorce.
7 biggest risk factors for divorce.
Okay. Marriage.
100% of divorces begin with marriage.
Exactly.
God damn it.
Prove me wrong. Yep. Prove me wrong.
All right, so there are now 8 things on the list. Nick got one too.
Nick just knocked one out of the park.
Humans.
That was a dinger.
All right. Well, good job, Tangeman. Would you like to add a follow-up? Would you like to run with your winning streak?
Okay, yeah. I'll
Make it, take it.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm gonna let it ride.
Yeah. I'll bet the last one on this one.
Let's say infidelity.
Ooh, no, did not end up on the list.
Whoa,
not as one of the top 7 factors, but of course is a cause. It could be, but not a statistical risk factor for divorce.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. I will guess long time time apart. So like working away from each other, having kind of forced time apart.
Good guess, but no,
Okay.
did not end up on the list. Think not demographics, right? It's not going to be baked in stuff, but think like risk factors from life, like effects from a person's life.
Yeah.
Like financial
Herpes.
strain. Yeah, specifically that one thing is the 99%.
Okay, my next guess.
Bed bugs. Bed bug infestation.
I don't know if this
Bigger
is
problem than people realize.
I don't know if this is going to be on the list.
Okay.
I know it ties in. I don't know if what you've got
Also,
actually
all of
figures
your
into
answers do not require a prologue. You can just say them.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get.
This is the preamble. I'm gonna get there eventually.
We're gonna get real sad here for a minute.
Oh Jesus!
I'm gonna say the death of a child.
Oh Jesus Christ! No, you're
No.
both bad at this.
No,
that was one of my guesses too.
Yeah.
No,
I
guys,
absolutely thought that was
you're
going to be on
thinking
there.
about the question wrong. It's not causes of divorce. It's situations that are risk factors that statistically correlate with divorce.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I would stand by that the
Jesus
death of a
Christ.
child does do that because it puts tremendous strain on the
I
relationship.
am not having fun anymore. This is not a fun game. Oh
All
my
right,
God!
let's see then.
Jesus Christ! No, you're wrong.
Okay, that's all you had to say.
And I'm taking back your last
That's all you had to
point
say.
too. You
Just
lose
say it.
another one.
Let's see
Double or
then.
nothing. God damn.
Okay, so
Think about it in terms. It's not quite demographic, but it's correlation traits.
big picture stuff, all I can think of, it all ties back to financial strain.
Okay, so like low income is a correlation, right? People that a couple that has a very low income are more likely to end up divorced. That's the way you got to think about it. Don't think about it as a smoking gun cause like infidelity or death.
Oh, okay.
Think about it as a
Okay.
correlatory trait.
Okay. Okay, now I can't think of anything else. Give us number 7.
Damn it.
Give us number 7. Get
Number
us
7.
back on track.
Cohabitation before marriage. People that have lived together before they got married
Really?
are more likely to end up
Oh,
divorced.
you know what? I agree with that. You know why?
Huh.
Because it's correlation, not causation.
Yes!
It's not because. Shut up. Let me finish. It's because
Yes!
it's because people who will not live together before marriage are probably the same people who absolutely will not get divorced.
Maybe.
Because
it's
because
just a
they've got
statistical finding.
Yeah, because
That's
they've
it.
got that
Yes.
extra component.
That's the way you got to think
religious-
about this. Yeah, think about it in those
pushed,
terms. Like,
yeah.
a trait about the people and their lives or their relationships. This tends to correlate with.
Okay, I've got
people that
another
have got
guess.
They own
I got another
ladders.
guess, but it's
Shit. Get it?
we are going way. This is not going at all how you thought.
No, it is not.
Okay.
This is going about how I thought it would go.
I've had to rescue A Block from the fucking graveyard of dead children.
I have.
No,
I've got
I did not think that
one-
was going to happen today.
I have
Go.
one guess, but
Go.
Oh shit! No, I'm gonna say age difference.
Yes, that
age
is
difference between the two.
Yes, that is one of the things. In fact, age in a lot of ways. So if you marry too early, but if you marry beneath the age of 25,
Okay.
your increased risk for divorce occurs. Also, if you marry after the age of 32, there is a higher risk for divorce. And then if you have a big age differential between the two people for every year that you are differentiated, it increases your likelihood of divorce by 3%.
Okay, so I'm gonna give myself 2 points there.
Where was it? What number is age?
Wait. Well, they're not ranked. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
7 things.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So far, you guys have guessed of the 7, age differentials or age as a factor, which is important. You did not guess cohabitation before marriage, but I gave you that literally to save the show. And then he also got one on finances. So right now you're 1 for 1. Each of you has 1 point.
Right.
Okay.
There you go. And,
All right.
and somehow I ended
Three
up with a
down,
point too.
3 down, 4 to go.
4 to go.
You don't have a point.
I somehow
Jim
ended
has
up-
literally
I don't
never
want
had
any
a point.
I don't want any points. I had to get
You've
one.
literally never had a single point.
Sacrifice a point. All right, so it's Jacob's turn, and financial strain and age and cohabitation
All
are
right.
off the board.
I'm going to guess financial strain.
She got it.
Oh, we can do that. Okay.
Just run it back. Just run it back. All right.
I honestly don't have any other guesses.
You just in the last few minutes told us about a risk factor you have.
Drug use.
No, not that one.
Shit.
That was not on the recording. Shooting a cop this morning. What? You mentioned something that happened in your childhood whenever you were 10.
Parents divorce.
Yes, ding, ding, ding. If
Oh,
your
there you go.
parents have had a divorce, you are statistically more
what the fuck
likely
did I talk about when I
to
was
get
10?
divorced yourself. Probably, some people hypothesize, because you've seen it. You're comfortable with it. You understand the concept. It's not foreign to you. It doesn't feel strange to you. You understand that. And so walking into a relationship, you understand that part of it could be divorce, and you're comfortable with the idea mentally. 4 things off the board now.
I want to say there's got to be some sort of component that has to do with religious beliefs or cultural beliefs.
Yes, number 6. If you were raised without religion, you are more likely to end up in divorce. Interesting little statistic. According to the 2012 National Health Statistics data, Protestant women had a 50% chance of their marriage lasting 20 years. Catholic women had a slightly higher rate at 53%. And women raised in other religions had a 65% chance of staying married that long. Women who were not raised in religious backgrounds had only a 43% chance of lasting 20 years. So it's a factor.
All right.
Okay.
How many are left?
3, 2 1,
Oh, Jesus.
2.
This is going on a long
I can
time.
see 2 that you have not guessed. 2 are remaining of the 7. You have guessed age. You have guessed financial strain. Jacob guessed about parents getting divorced.
I know.
Religion and cohabitation.
All
There
right,
are
what
2
else?
left.
Go ahead.
You're going to... Okay.
I'm passing.
Education level.
Yes, education level is another one of the statistics. It has been shown that 50% of marriages between couples who did not complete high school end in divorce. For those couples with a college degree, their divorce rate is only 30%.
I would like to point out that I was absolutely right in saying that you would be better at this because you're a therapist. Because you were used to thinking, at the very least, you're used to thinking about, like, okay, what are, like, general,
Yes.
Yeah.
these more general
Areas
things.
that would be studied.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
to assist Jacob with this, Nick also in the last few minutes described a risk factor that he has and is the last one on the list.
Drug use.
Being white.
Yes. Doing white drugs.
White supremacy.
White supremacy.
Let's see. What did Nick talk about today?
What has Nick talked about? Tax fraud.
Yeah.
So a minute ago, Nick talked a little bit about his personal history, and it actually is a risk factor.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. I don't listen to Nick.
Yeah, that's fair.
Who?
That is the right answer.
Oh, when did you get here?
Being Nick Tangeman was statistically associated with a risk factor.
I mean, I already said playing golf and smoking cigars.
That was it. Nick, what is the answer?
Previous divorce.
Previous divorce is one of the greatest predictors for divorce.
Having been divorced is a cheat answer.
It is a cheat answer. As cheaty as his marriage answer. A second or third marriage isn't doomed, but your odds of lasting for the long haul are slightly lower if you've been married and divorced before. About 35% of first marriages end within 10 years, while about 40% of second marriages end within that period, according to CDC data.
No, because there are several things on there that are, if you were already a little more comfortable with the idea of divorce, you are more likely to get divorced.
Yeah, yes. I think almost all of them are kind of
they all,
that.
Yeah, they
except
generally
for the
go in that way. I mean, like, okay, so financial,
the finance one doesn't go that way.
Well, think about it. Like, financial strain, okay, like, and you also have less to lose. You know, if you don't have a lot going on financially, you're not thinking, oh, geez, if I divorce this person, I'm going to lose my nest egg.
Or prenups would have been one.
Well, no, but yes, that. I don't know.
Sorry, I'm still playing
no data.
The game.
You're doing great. Also, you've guessed 8 out of 7, so you're done. We're done. But yeah, no, interesting data that kind of went with that. But yeah, none of those are necessarily bad things. They're just interesting corollaries. So, but also that previous divorce thing. That's why people often say 50%. I'm using air quotes of marriages end in divorce. That's not accurate. Because that misleads you to believe that of all the humans who get married, 50%, but it is kind of accurate because they're factoring in second and third marriages.
Right.
So one human can contribute 3 data points to that number.
Right.
And then, yes, 50% of people who said I do in the last year or whatever, it does end up in divorce, but that's also counting in multi-divorces.
Yeah.
Right.
That's counting every single wedding ceremony.
Yeah, I have a grandma who's married 7 times. So, like, she definitely contributed to the average.
Elizabeth Taylor is your grandmother?
Well, I don't like to talk about her, but Mama Liz was very good to me.
She was wonderful in Cleopatra.
she's done very well for herself. So,
right.
All right, so that's my A block. That's what I got. Thanks for ruining it, guys.
You bet. That's what we do best.
That's the whole block?
That was it. That was the whole block. We got the Confederacy and divorce in there. I feel like we counted everything.
He literally said during that part that it was the preamble to something else. But
No,
it was
not
making
the
fun
fun
of
of Nick. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to discuss chronic suicide. That feels appropriate. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
This week's TheraProducer sponsor is Robert Brownie Jr. Mint. In honor of TheraProducer Jr. Mint, I give you Pod Therapy's first ever edition of 2 Truths, 1 Lie.
Oh, shit.
Nick has once tried to use the Jedi mind trick to get out of underage drinking tickets.
True.
Nick has scored a 1450 on his SAT.
False.
Seriously? Yeah. All right. Do I even need to continue? All right.
Nope. Nailed it.
Nick has never been to Canada.
Yeah, I think you've been to Canada, and I think you're dumb.
I think we just nailed it.
If you'd like to join Robert Brownie Jr. Mintz and make the show possible, you can go to patreon.com/therapy and sign up. That's patreon.com/therapy.
Oh, yeah. I think you drank in Canada as a minor, and you didn't get a 1400 on your SAT. What was the lie?
I didn't even take the SAT.
Oh, I'll be damned. We were right. Oh, man. I just like how we both left at that one. Like, as soon as it came out. Nope. Nope. That was not it. That was not it. Hi,
That's
guys.
a good score. Nope.
Nailed it. Hi, guys. I feel like my question is very vague, yet here I am asking it. Do you have any advice on how to deal with chronic suicidality? Ever since I can remember, I've been suicidal, mostly passively, but I have attempted before and made suicidal gestures, i.e. a mild overdose without intent to die. I've been in therapy for 2 years consistently, and before that, on and off, with various providers. I've tried medications, but the short story is they aren't for me. I do my best, I live functionally with a job in my own apartment, but every day I still think about dying. I have many good days, but even on the best days, I can't escape the suicidal ideation. I don't really have a support system, which I know is not helping me at all, but I've never been able to make friends, and I've never been close with my family either. It's been getting harder to deal with recently, so I guess that's what compelled me to write this email. It's just very upsetting to me to look around at my life and all the wonderful things I have and still feel like I'd rather be dead. It's a very hopeless feeling, and I know I'll probably have suicidal thoughts every day for the rest of my life. This is just turning into a rant now, so I'll end it here. Thanks so much, Katie.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks for writing in.
Yeah.
I'm glad you wrote in. This is a really important topic. Okay, so some ideas, some things that could be helpful. Well, I think, number one, I think, and John talked about this when we had him as a guest.
Yeah.
About just the understanding that your thoughts are just thoughts.
Yes.
And you don't have to act on them.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is very powerful too is that sometimes we get really caught up with, I shouldn't feel this way, on top of feeling that way. Right. And then it just amplifies it even more because you're already feeling stressed about that suicidal thought. And then now it's, and I shouldn't be feeling this way about this thought.
Yeah.
And so now I have to deal with that too. I've talked about this countless times in this show about just the not giving your thoughts any kind of power one way or the other. They just are.
Yeah.
And being able to not give it any kind of meaning. So you kind of take some of that pressure off yourself.
Yeah.
But then I think it's also really important to understand that it is a thought. It's not something you need to act on, but it is something that we definitely need to address. And there's a lot of different ways. I mean, you talked about medication. I hope you don't give up on that road quite yet. Because I think getting professional help and addressing this is going to be very important.
Yeah. And, to the writer, I think a couple of things. The first thing that Nick's talking about there, he's essentially describing a technique that we refer to as mindfulness. It's become very, very popular in the past few years. You've probably heard of a book called The Power of Now. That's a very short little treatment on the thing and does a really good job of explaining it. Mindfulness is sort of being in the room with your thought without it being you. Mm-hmm. Being able to see it, sort of like, oh, I recognize right now that the thought of death is present. There it is. I have no opinion about it. I just accept that it's there.
Yeah. Just
similarly
there
to,
it is.
yeah, my stomach is hungry right now.
Right.
I have no opinion about that. Apparently that's a thing. And so you're just sort of acknowledging its presence in your head. You're acknowledging that thought. Anxiety works the same way. I acknowledge, something's triggering anxiety right now. There it is. I can see the anxiety. It takes you one step back from being the thing to noticing the thing. And so that's kind of what you were describing. And I think that's a very effective technique. And I like that the writer seems to be very near to that. The ability to describe it the way the writer did, I think sounds very much, like mindfulness. The other thing, writer, that I would throw out there, I would be interested in what your therapist says. So first off, great job. You said I'm in therapy, been doing therapy for 2 years, have done it off and on. Very pleased to hear that.
Yes,
because you listen to the show, we're going to say that you should be talking to a therapist. Yep. And the fact that you're already doing it and have been doing it for a long time is very important to me because it shows good maintenance. And that to me is very important. I even hearing this letter, I do not think this person's at high risk because I know this person has created good maintenance strategies for self-care. One of them being, I have a regular therapist that I talk to on a regular basis. I have a person. So very, very helpful. And obviously you're writing in because you feel like a little overwhelmed with it recently, but I like that you still have that. Now, the one thing I would throw out there, and this is what I said earlier, be interested in what your therapist would say. This sounds similar to what might be intrusive thoughts. So suicidal ideation can be multiple things.
Except they said that they had attempted.
They had in their past, yes. But the way that they're feeling this, like all the time, like where they're just going through their day and they're having this idea of like death, it just pops up. That could sometimes be an intrusive thought. And intrusive thoughts they could take lots of forms, but they're bothersome. They are usually negative. They are usually incongruent with how you really want to live, and they intrude, right? They pop up without your permission. They're automatic. They're involuntary. And there's a lot of neat tricks to kind of addressing that. I know that we've talked about it on the show before, and I think I've referenced a book that I usually encourage clients who have intrusive thoughts to pick up. But I'll try to put it in the show notes so you can take a look at it. But, just Googling, books and techniques to deal with intrusive thoughts, could be a fresh approach to the same problem, because obviously you have a lot of good coping skills. I mean, the fact that I'm hearing about a person who has good coping skills, good self-awareness, has done good maintenance, tells me that you've made a lot of progress on this over time. I'd be interested if you're also experiencing a fraction of this being intrusive thoughts, and if there's a way to sort of extinguish those thoughts to give you some percentage of relief.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be really good. And I think the big thing with that, too, I think with that idea, that approach of addressing it as an intrusive thought, it almost kind of makes it, I'm trying to think of the right way to put this, but almost kind of like a natural, but more like external thing. Like It's something that happens internally, but it's organic, right? It's a chemical process in the brain that you have no control over. It's something that just kind of happens. It's not something that necessarily means anything until you give it a meaning.
Yeah.
And I do also, as Jim said, I'm very pleased that you're in therapy. If you are not interested in doing the medication route, that's fine, as long as you're communicating with your therapist.
Yes.
That's the big thing. That if people are against medication, as long as they're working with their therapist and their therapist is on board and we're trying things outside of medication to address something like that,
right,
I think that's fine. I think the danger is when you go against professional help.
Yeah.
To avoid medication.
Right.
If your therapist or any other professional, your doctor who you're working with, is really feels very strongly you need to be on medication, but then you're not doing it, you're just kind of going against their orders. I think that could be very dangerous. But if you're upfront with them saying, I want to approach this a different way, and they're fine with that, and they're willing to work with you on that, I think that's okay.
And that's one of the missing ingredients that I don't see in the letter. And Jacob's right. The letter does say, hey, I have attempted. Like, that's happened in the past. And obviously I take that super duper serious. But at the same time, I'm not hearing chronic depression. I'm hearing suicidal ideation. And because there seems to be a big focus on suicidal ideation, and I'm not hearing a lot of, treatment of depression stuff, that makes me feel like, this is interesting. It's a thinking pattern. It's an intrusive thought pattern. It's popping up over and over and over again. It's not a steady state of major depressive disorder, which creates a much higher risk. But there is still a risk if you're constantly thinking about something, and like you've obviously attempted in the past, and you've done, other kind of near suicide-ish behaviors where you've overdosed mildly or whatever as sort of a way to flirt with the idea or whatever was going on in your head at the time. That's why I landed on intrusive thoughts. By the way, that book that I referenced is called Overcoming Unwanted Intrusive Thoughts, a CBT-based guide to getting over frightening, obsessive, or disturbing thoughts. It's by Martin N. Seif, S-E-I-F, and Sally M. Winston. Very short book, very good book, gets right to the point, gives you really great techniques. And in that book, they describe a pattern of intrusive thoughts which has to do with death and dying. So
I'm not a therapist, as we all know. One thing, though, that hits me a little bit about the note is it sounds as though you might be good at telling people what they want to hear. It sounds like you and this might not be it. I might just be misreading this. But it sounds like you may be just good at telling people what they want to hear. And so I would encourage you to be really open and forthright with your therapist.
Yes.
And make sure that you're telling them what your truth is.
Yes.
And not just what you think that they want to know about you and what they want to hear about you.
Damn. See? He's got it. Life coach.
It's fine.
Just been life coach. Unironically, life coach. That was fine. That was very good advice.
It's fine.
Yeah, that was really good. You know what's interesting? I know he'll never admit it. He's starting to use therapy vocabulary. Did you hear that?
I did. I did catch on that.
You caught that? Yeah,
he
was like, whatever your truth is. Like,
actually, but
very good, Jacob.
That
was therapist vocabulary.
Is that therapist vocabulary or is that gym vocabulary? Because that's
are they different things?
I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it is. It's neither. Because I've also just had multiple friends kill themselves.
There's that too. There's that too.
It's just
if you've been through it.
There's also that end of
it too. Be honest, writer. And so,
did you find that as kind of the thing that they were just
not telling?
There was one of them that was in therapy and everything. One of my friends that killed himself was in therapy and was extremely good at telling his therapist and his friends exactly what he thought that they needed to hear from him.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And so when he like the morning that he killed himself, it took everyone completely by surprise.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Because everyone thought that he was just like that he was doing fine.
Yep.
Oh,
that he was on the road to recovery, and he had attempted before.
Oh.
And probably not a serious attempt. Probably
Yeah.
a cry for help attempt. I'm sure there's a better way to say that, but that's what it was. And yeah, it took everyone completely by surprise. And the letter, the tone of the letter, and it's hard to get tone from a letter.
Sure.
It's impossible to get tone from a letter.
Okay.
But I would just say that make sure you're not doing that.
Yeah, that you're still
Just
being
be open with your
completely honest.
therapist.
Yes.
Which is
You've got a therapist. You have the tool. Go ahead and use it. There's
Yeah.
no reason.
Absolutely.
There's no reason to not use it.
Yes,
Right.
and thank you for writing in, especially like obviously you're bringing the question to us. You're being honest in your letter. You talk about long-term care with your therapist. You talk about trying to bring this to other people. One of the risk factors, which Jacob's kind of alluding to there, there's not a large support system, and the writer says, "Hey,
Right.
that's missing." But the fact that the writer is aware of it, is able
That's a
to
good
express that, is very good. You're talking about it, and that's the key piece. And to anybody who's out there, I think that's one of the most important things. What Jacob just said. If you're struggling, if you're having thoughts of ending your life, the first thing I want to tell you is that is always a lie. Ending your life does not improve anything. It doesn't make your life better. It will not bring an end. It's just the delete button. And that's not a viable alternative to whatever you're going through. And so first is that it's a delusion. And the second thing is it's okay to talk about it. You're not an annoyance. You're not bothering anybody. It's okay to be truthful. It's okay to tell your truth, whether that's to a therapist, whether that's to a friend or family member. And, I'll tell you right now, the pod therapy community is very aggressively pro-mental health. And so you could tell any of us what's going on, and we want to hear it, And
It's also, and I know this sounds a little self-serving based on what I just said, it is also not easier on your friends and loved ones.
Yes.
Right.
It's a common thought. If I'm just not around,
Right.
other people's lives will be easier,
Yes.
and it is quite the opposite.
It's not
Right.
true.
It makes it much more difficult on your friends and loved ones.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, we'd all much rather be there to take time out of our day to help somebody
Right.
than all of a sudden they're not there.
But what Jacob said about, the person that he's known, there's a fear of being a bother. There's a fear of like, oh, I don't want to bother. And also that's the muzzle of depression too.
Yeah,
is that
absolutely.
It's a dampening effect, the ability to cry out. You have the lungs and the voice to do it, but you just can't raise it. And I get that. And so letters like this are super important because I think it teaches all of the listeners, all 10 of them, the lesson that it's okay to reach out. Glad that this person, Katie, is talking to her therapist. That's
and
important.
I've had people go through terrible experiences in their life that have said that to me, like, well, I don't want to bother you with my stuff. And the thing that I always explain to them is I've gone through terrible things in my life, and I've reached out to other people,
Right.
and they have bent over backwards to help me.
I got to pay it forward.
Yeah, and I can't pay them back.
Right.
So I have to pay it forward. I have to help other people. So if you don't ask for my help, if you're struggling and you don't use me as a resource, you're denying me the opportunity to pay this forward.
And most humans feel that way.
Right.
Most humans want to hear you and connect. I think that's true.
Yeah.
It's a scary thing.
No, I mean, like I say, I've had multiple friends that have died, that have killed themselves, and every single one of them, it made everyone's lives around them exponentially more difficult,
Oh,
and
sure.
continues to.
Right.
It makes life continuously more difficult.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're not doing anybody a favor by
Nope.
keeping silent.
And I think for a lot of people, when they hear that, if they're in that moment, they find that hard to believe. But that is the consistent message that I hear from people, from survivors,
Yeah.
is that it has made it very difficult.
Talking with friends just the other night about one of our close friends that killed himself 4 years ago, I think, ish, maybe even 5.
Wow.
But still talking about it this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sticks around.
It's still a thing in our friendship circle as of this week.
Yeah. So, Katie, thank you for exemplifying what it is to talk about this. Thank you for showing us that you're already talking to a therapist. Thank you for the work you've already done on this. That is a great example to everybody out there who can relate.
Yeah, there's a lot of really positive things that you've got momentum going in a good direction.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, you've got a lot of things, a lot of resources already there that we can use to build off of.
Yes.
So this is good.
Quick note on that, Katie. If you do ever feel like this is more than just a thought pattern, if it starts to get, you've heard us talk on the show before about the baseball diamond of suicide. First base is I have thoughts about death. Second base is I've thought about how to do that, and that's getting increasingly practical. Third base is I'm starting to make a plan. I know when and where I would probably do this, and the how.
Resources.
Yep, and I have the resources to do it. And then, of course, stealing home is the attempt. If you're on first base, I love where you're at right now. I appreciate you writing in. If you're getting increasingly more practical, I really would challenge you to do an inventory of your home and make sure that you've removed anything that could just be used spontaneously. If you have a weapon, go ahead and give that away. Go ahead and give that to a friend, put that on ice for a while, unload it, and give it to a family member and tell them just to hold that. Things like that. Guns are one of the best predictors of suicide because they can be used spontaneously and without extra thought. If there's pills or things like that, you mentioned an overdose in the past, know your triggers. Know that you want to remove the chance for a bad day and a spontaneous thought to win. We want to try to, take the ammo figuratively out of that gun so that nothing could be done. So, but thank you for writing in, Katie. I think that was a really good question.
Yeah. If you have a gun in the house and you don't have something to do with it, mail it to me. And I'm serious. I'm completely serious.
Jacob. Yeah.
You can do it legally. You can go through FedEx and everything. You can do it legally. You can mail it to me at the Ice Cream Social address. You can send it to me, Jacob at Hey Scoops. And once you're ready for it, I'll send it back to you.
Yep.
I've got a safe. I've got a big safe. I'll put your gun in the safe. This is an open invitation for anyone.
Wow.
I'll put your gun in the safe. It'll be there. It won't be used, but it will be safe, and it will be in a good environment. It'll be maintained and everything. It won't go to rot or anything. And if and when you're ready to get it back, I'll send it back to you.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's
a really cool offer.
What is that mailing address?
I don't know. I'll find
it. Go to heyscoops.com, and you can go to, I think it's on contact. There's a mail address on there.
I can find it here. I've got it in my thing here close enough. But I mean, seriously, that's an easy thing.
Yeah.
That you can just do. You can just send it in to me, and send it to Jacob Smith. Where is it? There it is. Jacob Smith, 7835 South Rainbow Boulevard, Suite 4-195, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89139.
Awesome.
7835 South Rainbow Boulevard, Suite 4-195, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89135. Or 89139 rather. And that's just an easy thing.
Send it over.
Just get it out of the house.
Wow. That's a really cool offer, Jacob. Thank you for that. That's a great idea, by the way. There should be a thing for that.
And also, we should probably throw out the Suicide National Hotline.
Good idea.
1-800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255.
Katie, thank you so much for writing in. This was a good question. We like how you're maintenancing yourself. We like that you're thinking about this. Consider the intrusive thought angle. Maybe that's a fresh take. Maybe that'll be new resources you haven't dove into. Everybody benefits from thinking about that. Maybe look at that book that I mentioned earlier. And then if you do have any weapons or anything you need to get some space between, I love the idea of getting rid of them. Or send them to Jacob. There you go. Yep.
Just put a note in the box and say, hey, I'm sending you this and this is the reason, and here you go.
Also, if you have any drugs, you can send those to Jacob too.
Send them.
He will hold on to those for you.
Those won't come back. If you want to get rid of those, you should flush those.
Probably,
or if you just want to contribute.
Yeah, probably safer to flush than put it in the mail.
Yeah. Probably not with your return address.
I'm positive there's not a legal way to send those. Yes. There is a legal way to send a firearm. There is not a legal way to send drugs.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Katie. Great question. And to everybody out there that, got something from this, definitely spread the news. Share this episode with other folks that might be dealing with stuff. We want to make sure that folks are getting good ideas and getting some good coaching. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to discuss gambling addiction. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
This week's TheraProducer sponsor is Kayla Lansbury.
I like her.
In honor of TheraProducer Kayla, we bring you 2 Truths and a Lie, Gym Edition.
Oh, Jesus.
Here we go. 2 truths, 1 lie.
9 inches.
The lie is that he went to college.
Jim drinks beer through a straw.
Okay.
Jim once punched a teenager for Hannah Montana tickets.
Okay.
And Jim enjoys the feeling of single-ply toilet paper.
I told you that in confidence.
So 2 truths, 1 lie.
What was the first one again?
He drinks beer through a straw.
Oh, that's a tough one. This is harder than the SAT one.
This is very, very, very difficult.
All 3 of those are believable.
They're all believable.
If you would like to join Kayla Lansbury and make this show possible, go to patreon.com/therapy and sign up. That's patreon.com/therapy.
I'm going to toilet paper. Single-ply toilet paper.
True.
Who doesn't?
That's
like
Because
true.
he doesn't use toilet paper.
Yeah.
So that's the lie.
I have a bidet.
No, you don't.
I don't. All those were lies, listeners. All of them. Though
Sure.
I have gotten criticized. I remember one time I went to a party and I took a beer and poured it over ice in my glass. And the looks of hatred that I got
Of
from
course.
everybody around me. They're just
Yeah,
like,
yeah. No,
why
you're
are-
an idiot.
Why are you here? Why are you still here?
I'm not sure that Jim has ever punched anyone, so I'll
No.
go with the punch teenager.
Punch teenagers a lie. I've never punched a teenager.
Technically, they're all. Well, I don't know.
Well, they
I
weren't
just-
Hannah
I made
Montana
these up.
tickets. Yeah, no, I
So
figured that. out.
It was Miley Cyrus.
It was my.
It was
Yeah.
not Hannah Montana.
was
She
Miley
was already
Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus by then.
Get it right, Tangent. Hello, Pod Therapy. This is a 3-part question. The first question is, can you go over what gambling addiction is? Second question, why is it so many people that win millions and lose it are depressed? Third question is, if everyone on Pod Therapy had $2 million just to gamble with, and you lost all of it, would that have a psychological effect on you or anybody else? Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Send us $2 million, and we are willing to find out.
We'll test that.
We'll let you
I'm going
know.
to run the test, okay? I want to know. I believe in science.
What's the most you've ever gambled at a time? Single, like a sports bet,
in
or
one
sitting-
bet or in one sitting? Like
One-
a loss? How much
Yeah,
of a loss in
no,
one
like
night?
one sitting. So what I'm thinking of as a sitting is either like a single sports bet,
Okay,
or a single, like, I'm sitting at the blackjack table and I've put this much money
on a hand.
out there. No, not on a hand, but
Oh.
on the table.
I've made chips out of it, and I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
$100.
Okay.
$100 is the worst I've ever lost in a night.
I'm probably about 250.
Okay.
How about you?
I'm 1,000.
Okay,
Yeah.
on sports?
I've made one sports bet I've made 2 sports bets in my life for $1,000.
Okay,
Wow.
And then I sat down at a poker table one time with $1,000.
okay, and went for it.
Yeah.
Okay. See, and if you're going to lose...
I think I lost 1 and won 2. I
of
think I
those
was
bets.
2 out of 3.
Okay. Yeah.
Up 2 out of 3 times.
Wasn't one of your fantasy sports leagues also a pretty heavy buy-in, too?
Yeah.
But you won that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've won it a couple of times.
See,
But
it's not gambling if you win.
that's true.
That's
That's
true.
true. That's just winning.
First thing you got to understand.
That's just making money.
Okay. All right, listener.
That's just doing work.
That's not true.
Don't do anything Jim just said.
Yeah.
Jacob made it sound really sexy,
And
too.
if I ever go gamble, I always go with I go there with the mindset of I'm not going home with this money.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
This is my entertainment
That's
money.
the right
I'm
mindset.
not going home
I'm
with it.
having
That's the
And
thing is,
there's-
I should say that the 3 times that I've had $1,000 on the table, it has been money that I have won in other gambling avenues that I've had, and then I've
See, that's kind of what
Right.
the writer
Been trying-
seems to
been
be
trying to
asking
put that
me.
over.
The writer seems to be saying, if you didn't lose anything you already had, if I gave you $2 million and you lost that, would that lead to depression? Or would that be a negative psychological thing?
Okay,
I mean,
well
I
let's
think
tackle these one at a
if you
time.
feel like you had it,
There's
I mean,
3 questions.
the hypothetical one is tough.
yeah.
Okay. So the first
Send
one,
money. Send me.
can we go over what gambling addiction
Send
is?
me half that money. That'd
Okay.
be fine.
Addicted to gambling.
Right.
Next
Nailed
question.
it.
Correct. All right. We don't need to spend a whole lot of time on that one, I guess. Essentially,
Might as well face it.
a gambling, this is what we would refer to as a process addiction.
Yep.
Okay, so different than, say, addiction to alcohol or something like that, which would be a chemical addiction, which would be chemicals influencing or entering the brain, changing the brain.
Externally.
Externally.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that gambling does have an effect on the brain.
Yep.
It does have a chemical effect on the brain, but it's not an external substance that's coming in.
No.
So it's a little bit different in that sense. But essentially, you're going to have the same criteria for the most part
Yes.
for a gambling use disorder that you would have for a substance use disorder.
Very similar. Yeah. So, we usually refer to it as like the 4 or 5 C's. That's usually kind of the shorthand for how we kind of figure out if somebody's behaving in a way that looks like addiction, right? And whether that's gambling or, so what Nick just mentioned, I think is very important. A lot of listeners don't think about that. When you think about addiction, you think, oh, alcohol or drugs. You ingest something, it changes your brain state, and then you become dependent on that for whatever reason. It's your thing. A process addiction is your brain still ingesting chemicals of its own making, and going into a feedback loop wanting more of that. And so it asks you to do that same behavior over and over again, even if that behavior is self-destructive.
Right.
So sex addiction is a thing. And, we've talked about this early in like season 1. There was a big debate back then about it still exists. Season 1. In the AASECT, who I actually really admire, that group doesn't believe that sex addiction is a thing. Like I constantly see it on Twitter. Where they're trying to, tear that down. It is a thing. It's a thing because any human that compulsively does a behavior to the point where it becomes consequential in their life and they keep doing it despite negative consequences is attached to that. That's the cycle.
So Jim mentioned the 4 C's of addiction.
Yes.
So there's compulsion, craving.
Carlos.
Okay.
A lot of people don't think about that one.
Craving, consequences, control. So compulsion is this overpowering urge to do a behavior.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the compulsion. The craving then becomes when you actually develop kind of like what you would experience with like a hunger pain.
Yes.
Right? Like you have that.
And it can also be an emotional thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Craving with alcohol is I feel like I need a drink because I'm getting the shakes and like I need this. I'm going through a drug. But like craving on a process addiction is usually like you're jonesing. There's a fantasy attached to it. You're doing a lot of euphoric recall. You're emotionally connected to it.
Preoccupation.
Yes.
With your mind.
Your mind races thinking about it and you just keep going back to it.
Yeah. So, and then consequences is continued use or continued behavior despite negative consequences.
You've lost a lot of money.
But I continue doing it.
You started taking out payday loans. You can't pay your bills. You're having problems. You're giving up food. You're giving up other things to make room for this. If negative consequences are happening in your life and you keep doing something, that's an addict behavior. Mm-hmm. If I hit my finger with a hammer, I usually don't do that again. Humans generally learn from pain. But when the pleasure derived from the cycle outweighs the pain in the brain, that means you're becoming addicted to that process. That's getting out of control.
And then the last part is a loss of control. So
you can't cut back.
Right.
You tried to cut back. I'm only going to gamble $100.
Exactly. Setting a limit and not being able to stick to it.
Yes.
That'd be a loss of control.
Anytime you can't cut back.
Yep.
Right. Like when I gamble, which is pretty rare, but when I gamble with two intentions. One is to just have a good time, and 2 is to get a little extra spending money.
Just for funsies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. If I win, great. But I'm not going to lose something I need.
If I lose, it's fine.
Yeah.
Because it's like Nick said, I'm going in with the intention of losing that money.
Now, there are times that I have to be really careful with this because there are times that I've done this before where I say that to myself. I'm okay with losing this money. But then when I leave and I don't have it, I'm like physically upset.
That is what happens to me. That is what happens to me.
That doesn't happen all the time.
That's SJ.
That does happen.
If SJ puts $20 in a machine and loses it, she's upset that she doesn't have $20.
So am I. I am that person.
Yeah.
I am 100% that person. The only gambling I've probably gambled, you could probably count it on one hand all the time. I've lived here for 25 years. I've probably gambled 5 times. And 3 of those were bingo. Okay, and like I like bingo because I go in, I give them my $20, I get 2 free drinks, and it's an hour of entertainment, and we're all calling out numbers and smashing color thingies. It's fantastic, great. I don't even care. At the end of the day, I spent $20
I've done bingo a couple of times. Bingo doesn't feel like gambling at all.
No, and I'm good with it because I feel like I got something for my money.
Bingo is hilarious,
but that's the thing with me. I feel like I need to get something for my money. And so, like, if I sit down, I've played blackjack once or twice where I'll go in and I'll be like, $20 a hand or something like that. And, like, once I lose $100, I am furious. I am so upset if I lose $5, I am emotional.
Well, if you're betting $20 a hand and you're starting with $100, you're not playing very long.
No. It's a 30-second game. Yeah.
The waitress isn't even back with your drink.
Nobody even asked. Yeah, they just see me. The seat is not even warm. Okay, I get up and leave.
When my stepmother came to Las Vegas for the first time, she said, "All right, teach me how to play blackjack." So we walk over. We're standing behind the blackjack table, and I'm just telling her, this is how you play it. She knew the rules of it, the basic rules of it, and everything. And she goes, okay, I want to play a hand. And so she went up to the table. She put $20 down on the table. They gave her $20 in chips. She put the $20 in chips down on the hand to play the whole thing. And she got dealt a 20.
Oh, she hit?
Great. And no, she didn't hit.
They won't even give you the card.
Yeah. So she waved it off. She stayed. The dealer turned over a 16 and then drew a 5 to a 21 and beat her. And she went, "Ow, that's terrible." And she goes, okay, let's do it one more time. So she pulls out another 20, does the same thing, gets dealt a 20. The dealer turns over like a 4, like 2 twos,
Uh-huh.
and then hit to a 6-card 21.
Jesus.
Okay, I'm done.
I'm done here. I'm done here.
I've just lost $40.
And
both
it happens
both
so
really good
fast.
hands.
It's gone so fast.
But that's the best thing that could have happened to her.
She'll never gamble again. Whereas I'll tell you, if
you win.
casinos,
Yeah.
if casinos actually fixed games,
Yeah.
if they cheated, they would make it where everyone would win at least a few $100 the first time they gamble.
They would hit you. They'd get you that dopamine rush, and that's exactly what the process addiction is. It's the thrill of victory, it's the anguish of defeat, it's the rush of the risk, and I can't do it, man. I get so angry. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting living in Las Vegas, and this is a conversation I've had with other therapists that live in other states. You know, we are so used to gambling here. Mm-hmm. I mean, just don't even think about it. And in other places, it's up there with like a brothel to them. Like, they go, oh my God, you know, like you went to the casino, like, oh, you're a terrible person.
Yeah, down here,
fascinating.
It's the same as back home. Somebody saying they're going fishing.
Yeah, we gamble at our gas stations. Like, there's like,
I was gonna say, I mean, there at my grocery
not
store,
weird.
there are video poker machines in a little room in front of the grocery store.
And so it's a very interesting place to be a therapist because you have people that come in that are, yes, there's gambling addiction, and we have to address that. Also, I have professional gamblers that are patients.
Yep.
And they have a very comfortable living. They are professional gamblers. That is their job. And you have a friend that does that. Yeah. And that's their job. And they're excellent at the statistics of it. They know the margins. They play enough to make the margins work for them, and they earn a comfortable living, and they go home.
Oh, I've got a couple of friends that are professional poker players and high level. Like they play in the big World Series every year, which is a $10,000 buy-in. Damn. And you know they gamble hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah. Yep. And, you know, that's I once got this person was not a patient. It was just a person I got to meet. This is back when I was a school teacher. He was the parent of one of the kids at the school that I taught at, and he had the bracelet. He was a WSOP victor. He had won, and it's interesting because he forbid his children from ever gambling. And this was an interesting dynamic, and I remember asking him about that. Like, he had a bunch of kids, and he was absolutely vehemently against it. And his profession was still gambling. That's what he did for a living. And I was like, why? He's like, I have lost way more than I've ever won. I want my children to go to work, get a paycheck, and not have to wonder if they're going to walk out of work poorer.
Yeah.
I just want them to go to work and make money. Yep. It's a fascinating dynamic.
So that leads to the next question. Why are so many who win millions lose it and are depressed?
And that's the example of this guy. That, you know, ultimately he derived a living from this, but had been up millions and down. And when you lose all that, the lost potential is devastating. I mean, I've had an old saying for a long time that, you know, when you're trying to teach people mindfulness, trying to teach them like to accept their realities, I've long said, if you wanted to destroy a person's life, give them the lottery on Friday and then tell them it was a mistake and take it back on Monday. Even though on Tuesday they are the same exact person in life that they were on Thursday, you will have destroyed them.
Right.
All by giving them something and taking it away.
Well, and also, there has to be something to the idea of, if I had just made this one single choice,
right?
If I had just done the opposite,
I could have been.
You know, I said yes, I should have said no.
Yep.
It was a 2-choice option.
Yep.
And I made the wrong choice. The coin came up the wrong direction,
Yep.
and I did that. And if I had done that the opposite, I would have won a lot more money, or I would have won money instead of losing money.
Yeah,
and I mean, there's something there.
Oh yeah, I think that just it creates in your head an environment where you're just constantly second guessing yourself.
And I would bet that's Jim's example of the pro gambler who doesn't want his kids doing it. That's got to be a part of that.
I think
it is, and that's what we know about this scientifically. We refer to as loss aversion. You know, there is this absolute despair that settles in whenever you gift somebody or somebody, you know, comes upon great things, and then you take those things away. So to the writer's point, the writer's kind of saying, like, really? Like, if you win $1 million and then lose $1 million and you're right back to where you started, why would that have a huge psychological effect? Well, let me ask you something, writer. Would winning $1 million be pleasant for you? If the answer to that is hell yes, and you're imagining all the things you do with that $1 million, and you're imagining what a life-changing reality that is, fantastic. Now attach to that emotionally, and then let me take it away. And that's it. That's it. Yep. That's the whole deal. You know, if you have a life-changing incident, and that's how a lot of gambling winnings are. It's rarely $1 million, but you'll win, you know, $5,000. And you literally pushed a button. You pushed a button, and $5,000 just fell out of it. And you're like, holy God, like, that just changed my week. That just changed my month. That's really, really exciting. And then you go and what do? You chase it.
Yep. The people that I know that gamble often, first of all, most locals in Las Vegas who do gamble a lot are video poker players, or something of that, like video poker, video keno, something where they're sitting at a machine at a bar.
Because you go to the bar and they're always there.
Yeah, that's something that has never had any appeal to me at all.
I've done it for a free drink. Like I'll put in $20 and sit on that $20 and pay it like out at quarters and just get a free drink.
I've played video. I mean, I've lived in Vegas for 12 years. I bet I've put a grand total of $150, $200 into a video poker machine.
That's nothing when you think about that. These things are literally everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, nothing.
And a standard bar. Oh, what is it? I think it's like a regular bar. Just somewhere in town that has video poker machines. I think each machine brings in something like $25,000 a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, the money that goes in and out of these machines is big.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's not the bar. That's just per machine. Maybe it's a month. It's $25,000 either a week, either per week or per month. I think it's per week though.
Yeah.
But the people I know who do these and play these daily, which I know people who play these absolutely every single day. They'll leave work and go to the bar for a few hours, and they'll put in $300, $400, $500.
Yep.
And I know one guy specifically comes to mind who had multiple days, and he and I worked together in close proximity. We shared a booth.
Okay.
And so, I mean, he and I spoke every single day and would just have long conversations because we're standing next to each other. And he would come in, once or twice a month with pictures on his phone to show me the winnings that he had gotten the night before. And it was stuff like $20,000.
Oh yeah. Big
he'd come in and be like, "Hey, I won $7,000 last night. Hey, I won $15,000 last." And the most he ever won was $20,000. And the thing is $20,000, and he made low six figures a year.
Sure,
he made a little over $100,000 a year was his income. $20,000 in a week. It's a lot of money.
It's exciting.
It's exciting. It's not life changing.
Right.
It's not the same as winning $10 million.
Right. You still have to go to work.
Yeah. Like you might take a day off of work.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Just for fun, but even then, like, probably not.
You're still going to work.
Yeah. And it doesn't, as much fun as it is, it doesn't have a notable impact on the long term of his life.
Right.
Whereas I'm positive he has lost more than $20,000.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've had patients that
he's had big wins, but net, I'm sure he's behind.
Oh, everybody is. That's the whole point. Like, it's very hard to have a career at it unless you're a professional gambler and you're literally just playing margins. But what's interesting about professional gamblers, they're not gamblers. They're professional poker players or like blackjack players. Like,
they're statisticians.
They specifically know the numbers of one game and they play that with incredible precision, and they take. And that's it. Especially in poker, because you can steal from rookies. Like, an amateur walks over and puts $100 on the table, and you're like, okay,
that's my $100.
I'm going to get that $100 because that guy doesn't know how to play, and I'm going to take that, and then I'm just going to incrementally steal until I finish my night ahead, and then I walk. And then they deposit that money in their bank. They do not play, machines on the way out. I've had patients before that have told me the winnings. I've had people that, we're dealing with one issue, but they tell me how much they gamble. I'm like, oh, tell me more about that. And they're constantly like, oh yeah, I won. And then they've literally not been able to pay for the session. And they're great income. They do very well. Highly paid person in the community does very well. And then they're like, hey, can you double bill me? Next time, I'm empty. I have nothing. And I'm like, wow, you're absolutely broke, or like, how does that work? It's like I could take cards, and there's like, no, I literally have $0.
Yeah.
I am literally not going to pay my rent right now. And it's like, you don't see that as a problem. And they're like, no, I mean, I'll win it back.
I'll get
it back.
Yeah, I get paid. I get paid on Saturdays. It's not a big deal. And it's like, okay, but like that, by the way, Ryder, is a good example of gambling addiction.
I've heard somebody say that before, that the pessimist sees the glass as half empty, the optimist sees the glass as half full. The gambler says the glass will be full any minute now.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, any minute it's going to hit. So yes.
And the kinky person says that's pee.
Nah, that's the one. That's sex addiction.
That's who you want to talk to.
I'll
tell you right now, of those 4 people, you want to talk to the person who thinks it's urine. That's the most interesting conversation that you're going to get.
That's the best night you're going to have.
I used to play poker a lot. I used to refer to myself as a semi-professional poker player.
Okay.
And I mean, I worked, but I would make on average about an extra $1,000 a week playing poker.
Not bad.
Now
it takes a lot of hours though.
That's the thing is I was working for $1,000 a week. I was working about an extra 35 hours a week.
Yes.
Just sitting and playing poker.
Yes.
And I enjoyed it. I mean, I was doing it because I enjoyed it. Yeah. But I stopped enjoying it. I stopped doing it.
Yeah.
When I played poker though, I kept detailed notes, daily notes, wins and losses.
Okay.
So at any point I could tell you if I was up or down on the month or on the week by how much.
See, but that's again, it's running it as a statistics thing. That's running it as a career. Well, fun.
And I really think if you're going to gamble often, I think that's an important tool to have is absolute knowledge of where you are and not a feel and where you are financially.
Yeah. And it's interesting.
Like how much has this cost me?
You have to know.
How much am I up? Like am I up? Okay, I'm up, and this is nice.
Right?
Am I enjoying it? You gotta ask yourself all these questions. You gotta keep checking in with yourself, or am I down?
Right?
And how much am I down? Am I down? $100, $1,000, $20,000?
Otherwise, you're just gonna keep
because
the monkey there.
As soon as you're down, you're gonna start looking at those numbers and going like, oh shit, I'm down. $8,000.
Yep.
I could do things with $8,000 right now.
That's one of the first ways that we treat gambling addiction, and we've got colleagues that specialize in it. And one of the very first things they want to do is they want to do the math. And it's amazing that the person who's there for treatment is like, oh well, I don't know, I don't want to do that. And it's like, no, we're going to do it. You're going to stare right into the pit, and we're going to exactly figure out how deep that is, and we're finally going to get the number.
And even that can be very difficult too, because then you still, even with that sense of clarity, it's really not all that clear because you still have the distorted thought of, yes, but I've been up this much.
Exactly.
You're forgetting how much I've won.
Here's
and
the
if I
pictures.
just do that again, I'm fine.
I could fix it. Yeah, absolutely. I had a professional gambler once. I asked him, he didn't like his job, which is interesting because you think, oh, he must love the game, and he hated it. But it was what he was doing, and he had to keep doing it. And I said, well, why do you hate it so much? And he goes, I work all night long. It is nonstop. Right. I am playing all the time. He played a lot of online too, and he's like, I have to be playing or I'm not going to make any money. And he said it's really frustrating because I'll win a big pot every once in a while, but he said I did the math and I figured out my hourly wage from my poker winnings, and it came to like $20 an hour. And he was like, I work a lot, like to get a decent amount, but when you average out my time, it's like $20 an hour. And he was upset, and he was like, I just want to go work at like Home Depot. Yeah. He's like, I just want to go work a regular job.
When I would keep up with my poker winnings, the best months I had, I was making on average about $50 an hour because I did the same thing. I would always break it down to the hours, to the hourly rate as well.
Yeah.
And on a really good month, I was doing about $50 an hour.
Yeah, and it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time and a lot of focus. And you have to have not like a chill kind of thing. Like you're thinking the entire time.
You have to have a lot of emotional control.
Yeah.
Because the highs are really high, but the losses can be really low.
Yeah, you have to play it as a numbers game.
Yeah.
And you have to be completely safe from the emotional recoil, too. Great question, Ryder. Great question. So hopefully, we put a dent in that, but, I think you do need to send us that money, and I will...
We'll try it.
We'll tell you.
Yeah, I'll live stream the entire thing. Well, I'll live tweet it, and that's fine. Send me $2 million, and I'll turn it into 4. You watch.
Yeah, I don't
can't lose.
Oh, imagine how depressed Jim would be.
I have a
$4 million.
I have a formula. Okay, can't.
Jim's
lose.
got a system.
I have a system. They don't even let me in the casinos anymore. They see me coming. I'm like Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the interviews with casino execs? They're like, what's the one thing you love to hear from a gambler?
That they have a system.
I've got a system.
Great, buddy.
If a floorball hears you say the words, "I've got a system,"
free drinks.
Yeah.
Get this person a room, comp them a meal, get them a bottle, Get
funny.
Mr. System over here.
Yeah.
Anything that they want.
You just do it.
That's funny and so true.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Vegas Vacation with Chevy
Yeah,
Chase?
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that bit where like he keeps like just losing his hands. Like he's just so bad.
There was a great interview. This is quite a few years ago with Steve Wynn.
Uh-huh.
Steve Wynn. Everybody knows that he's not anymore, but he built the Wynn Casino and everything. But he also built several other casinos in Las Vegas
Mirage,
that are now owned by MGM. So like Mirage, Bellagio, pretty much any casino that has a lot of stuff in front of the casino. Steve Wynn built those
Because he created the resort casino.
Right.
Yeah,
like he
built
built
his model.
I think he built Treasure Island.
Treasure Island.
But they asked him, what is the biggest loss you as the casino have ever had? And his answer was none.
Wow.
He said there's not a single instance that I can think of that someone has won big where they didn't give it all back to me.
Oh my gosh. Wow. From Steve Wynn.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. No, that doesn't happen. You misunderstand.
It's
how
almost
this
like
works.
the casinos have a system too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting.
It's almost like those multi-billion-dollar buildings get paid for somehow.
Yeah.
You know, we had a colleague
Amazing.
at one of the rehabs we worked at who was a person in recovery for gambling addiction and a very good therapist. You knew him. You actually took his job after he left. And he left just because he moved on. He moved to another rehab, and you filled his role. But yeah, he's a very open about it. He talks about it all the time, that he has gambling addiction and what he had to do to treat that. And, he has to be very thoughtful about, sports and very thoughtful about casinos and when he goes into things. And I had invited him to play fantasy football because I was creating a league with it. And, it was interesting because he said, well, I'd love to play. He was a big football guy. And he said, but is there a buy-in? And I was like, there is. And he's like, okay. And he's like, let me talk to my sponsor about that and let me get back to you. And I was like, wow, interesting. Because it was not a big buy-in. It was like $20. But he was like, yeah, but let me chit-chat with my sponsor and just make sure that, I feel like I'm congruent right now. And I was like, wow, very good, man. So, by the way, Gamblers Anonymous or Gambling Anonymous, GA, is a thing. It's very big here in Las Vegas, but there's definitely one in your community, in your state. If you're out there and gambling has become a problem in your life, check out Gamblers Anonymous. And there's also helplines that are in there too. If you go to their websites, you can find that there's usually a helpline. Here in Las Vegas, we have an entire when the fun stops, support team.
Those pamphlets are everywhere.
Yeah, at every single casino, there's the pamphlets when the fun stops.
Yep.
And I think we have what is the group here? Do you know what it is?
The one that does that? That's the is that the council?
The council, it's the Council on Gambling Addiction or something like that. But
Yep.
yeah, great question, Ryder. And if anybody's out there that needs some help,
I think it's episode 4.
With
We've
Sydney?
got Sydney Smith.
wow,
who's,
was that episode 4?
Yeah, she was early. She was one of our
Jeez.
first guests.
It's weird because we're at like episode 100 something, and
I know.
never heard
I should have
from
had her
again.
back. I know. I should have had her
I
back
think
for
she
this.
stopped answering our phone calls, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
You'll notice no guest comes twice.
It's true.
You'll notice it's one and done.
That is
100% of the time. It was funny. I was watching Piff's birthday jam with the ICS guys on there too, because somebody told me that he mentioned us. And then they're like, "Hey man, we got to bounce. Like the Pod Therapy guys are coming." And he kind of laughed. He's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could just lock the door, and those guys are not exactly going to bang on it. I think they'll just go back to their cars."
He's not wrong.
And then he casually was like, "Yeah, I was on that show. I've met them. It's fine.
It's fine.
They're not going to pull you out of the seats." I was like, "Thanks, Biff. Thanks for recognizing us."
That's true.
Yep, you were on the show.
He is the first person who's ever been on the show that has acknowledged us after being on the show.
Yeah,
so
that's
congratulations.
usually people going to witness protection program. He's the only one who doesn't give a damn. Say it openly. Tell his friends. No shame. Well, we are at the end of the show. We do. What is your announcement here? Patreon is now charging.
Oh
a
yeah,
sales
okay.
tax.
So Patreon's now charging a sales tax.
Okay,
I got that email.
and it
it's
said-
not going to affect our patrons, I don't think.
No,
But there's instructions in there.
It
Here's
tells us
what
to,
you need to
warn
do
them.
to.
I'm sure they all get emails about that too.
Well, I think it's an internal thing for Patreon to make sure that the sales tax doesn't mess up the reward system that's set up in the system.
Yeah. The good
So-
news is our supporters don't have very high expectations.
Yeah.
Except for the people that got mugs. Hooray!
Yes.
All the mugs went out, and we're seeing the pictures come in from
Yeah.
all across the nation. So thank you, THERAPRODUCERs who have supported us for a long time. We tried to show a little bit of love to you, and thanks, Mom, for making mugs. We love you. That was nice of you.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. And we want to thank our Elite 8. Mysterious Mom, are you? Oh, that was weird. Illuminati members of the fan club, THERAPRODUCERs. Thank you, Smitty Scoop, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie, Jr. Mint, Kayla Lansbury, Ellie O'Dare, Judy Schneider, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, Dr. Ben Don, and ex officio board members Crazy Banana Scoop and Gray Whitaker.
If you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy. Thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time that we have for this week's session. We want to thank our landlords, the Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, pod therapy isn't something you should keep all to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs it by opening this episode's description in your podcast app and copying and pasting the link we provided into your social media. Don't forget, you can find us at facebook.com/podtherapy, on Twitter at PodTherapyGuys, and at patreon.com/therapy.
If you want to submit a question to the show, ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
Who's the president of the Confederacy? Jefferson?
Thanks, and we'll see you for appointment next week.
I'm President Jefferson.
Jefferson Davis.
That guy.
Jefferson
Davis.
His first name was
I heard they pulled a
Jefferson.
statue down to that guy.